if I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 6 hours sharpening my axe. Who said that? Yeah, you're good. You know, because that, of course, is the learning mechanism. Make sure you read the slides as we go. I also realized that sharpening my axe sounds like a euphemism. Maybe not for everyone. Sorry, for the young people in the crowd. Anyway, so there's only 3 things in life. Only 3 things in life. Promised myself I wouldn't do that one. Anyway, so 3 things in life. Time, money, and energy. Energy, matter, condensed, slower vibration. Depends how, I might be wrong. It's not really the point. Anyway, point being, energy. But I'm going to say love because I'm a bit of a hippie. I'm going to probably run out of time, but I won't run out of energy. First thing to think about is this. Think. We're going to go 3 things. Think. We're going to go feel. We're going to go love. This gentleman, much cleverer than I, called Simon, and he always thought, start with your why. Start with your why. I think he's wrong. Start with the who. Start with who. Who the heck am I? I managed to say heck rather than swear, so that's good. So yeah, Dan Sodergren and I do lots of talks around the place, which is great, and do some stuff on the BBC. It's not important. What I tend to do for people is I do stuff about future of changing and how do you change your business and future of work. So we go from current state into the future state, and that's kind of what I'm about, which basically means you take people from grumpy face baby to happy face baby. As you can see there, I'm also a dad, so there's 18 shots of babies in this. None of them are mine, by the way. I haven't stolen them. Anyway, point being is right now, we're going to go from happy baby faces down to sad baby faces. And why is that? And that's what we're going to think about now. Why is that? Well, for only literally 50% of us right now, we dislike our jobs. 50%, half of us dislike our job. And we spend 90,000 hours doing this. This is a huge problem for society. Yeah, because how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. This affects society, it affects families, it affects everyone, it affects how people vote, it affects capitalism, how we consume stuff. It's a huge problem that we're not happy at work. They did this wonderful piece of work during the pandemic times. It was in June 2021. 95% of people said they were thinking about quitting their jobs. It's pretty much everybody. And now people are moving quicker and quicker. When I was young, it was about 7 jobs you'd have in your lifetime. Apparently, with my dad, it was 4. His grandfather worked down in mine. It was only 1. That's not true. I made that up. But the average person now changes 12 times. The future of work is going to be high-frequency change, as my friend Tom Cheesewright brilliantly points out. And you've got to now think, with your job, are you going to be continually moving? If so, this changes the way that we work all the time. But why is this? And it's because lots of people aren't engaged at work. They're no longer engaged at work. About 85% of people aren't engaged in the workplace. This costs us £45 billion a year in this country alone, which is twice as much as they spent on track and trace. I'm going to leave that there. The point is, it's every year as well, so it's not a funny stat, but there we go. And so why are we doing it? Why are we leaving our jobs? Well, some of the great news coming out of younger people is they're happy to leave their job and accept a pay cut to have a better or more ideal job for them. Yeah? And we leave because of bad bosses. We know this. Bad bosses are a problem. And we're not listened to enough by our bosses. Yeah? When we think we're being listened to, we're 5 times more likely to perform better. Okay? But only about 40% of businesses actually have that mechanism in place, which is why I invested in something called YourFLOCK about 5 years ago. It's what we do. We help people assess about values and togetherness and whatever, which is great. So feeling. Right now, 60% of us at work, if they feel that their companies align with theirs, they're happy to take the role. Otherwise, they wouldn't take that role. Okay? So feelings at work are hugely important. The problem is that lots of people don't feel they belong. It's about 1 in 5. And when it's actually younger people, it's actually like 1 in 4. Okay? So, why is this important? Because it's going to become increasingly important for younger generations that they feel they belong at work. And the pandemic itself has created this horrible feeling of uncertainty. It's one of the worst human emotions you can have. Okay? So, what do we need to do? Well, we need to be able to communicate better. That's going to be key. And then we need to have managers that communicate better. And in fact, it affects our mental health as well, because we believe our managers can't communicate, we're more likely to have mental health problems. It's a huge society problem. We also know that only about 1/3 of workers say they are happy to talk to their management team. There's a huge problem with communication. So, how do we feel? I'm not going to go on a rant on this one, but you look at microbiota inside your stomach, it then links to the vagus nerve, it goes up to your brain. You can Google this later on and find out if it was true. But about 90% of your feelings come from serotonin in your stomach and what you're eating and other things. Now, the amount of brain cells inside your stomach is about the same as a cat, hence the surprise cat face there. And so what we're finding during lockdown is actually that young people found that they actually were sometimes happier or happy during lockdown, and that's because people were eating together. They were eating together, hugging more, being together more. Now, how does this link into the future of work? Well, if we go purely remote, we're going to have to start consciously thinking about how we gather together, when we gather together, and what we do, because we cannot bowl alone. Okay? As Simon rightly says, we might need this moment of touching and feeling and hugging. I'm obviously not too much touching and feeling, that's an HR issue. Oops. So how do bosses feel about this? Of course, bosses are overconfident. Bosses and CEOs think they're amazing, think they're doing an amazing job. They're 20 times more likely, or 20% more likely to think that their business is being effective at managing hours. So like 28% more around preventing burnout. It's 41% about the whole thing. They think they're doing a brilliant job. But of course, they're not necessarily, because very few people are truly happy at work. Okay? And one of the things we need to think about is empathy. As new leaders in the new world, we have to think about empathy. It's going to be hugely important. Now, we need more leaders at work. We need less bosses. We need more leaders. Yeah, we need to change. We need to have people who can coach us, that are empathetic, that listen more. There's a new world of this thing, and my friend Jeremy Blaine did a great book, please do read it, called The Inner CEO. We could all become leaders in our businesses. Okay? Also a great book by Daniel Pink, which is around autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Another great one to read, and a girl think again by Adam Grant, which is great. If you are a leader right now, what you should be really thinking about is, why should anyone be led by you? That's what you should be thinking. And that's what I love. I love talking about hybrid work. I love the world of work we're going to be going into. It's a fantastic opportunity for us all. It means that diversity and inclusion is going to happen more. It means that women will be able to get back into the workplace more. It's a powerful thing, being able to do hybrid work and remote working. It really is. You'll also find, this is an aside, some great work by Bruce Daisley, and you'll find that the more stale, pale, and... I'm not going to do that one, okay. But the more non-diverse your boss set is, the more likely they want you to get back into the workplace. Yeah, there's actually absolute correlation between those two things. So we've all got to think, how do we change the future of work together? The good news is that hybrid working actually makes businesses more profitable. So it's in the interest of business to do this. We're also more productive when we're working, well, potentially some of us are more productive when working from home or working hybridly. Even during the pandemic, that was 73% said they were more efficient when they did this. So there is no longer the argument that it's not going to be productive. But what do we want in this remote work revolution for the future of work? Well, 76% of us are saying that we want flexibility. Yeah, flexibility about where we're going to be working. And it's even higher about when we work. Now, you might not feel this is hugely important, but believe you me, this is the revolution. This is the revolution right now. The great news is we have the technology. We have the technology to make it happen right now. We have the technology. What I also find quite amusing is that a lot of the companies you see on the office-centric thing, these are the very guys that were bringing the technologies 10 years ago. And now they're like, oh no, you stay in the office, you horrible people. Yeah, but it's just the irony, of course. And you see slightly funky people like Zoom, surprisingly enough, quite like hybrid work, who'd have thunk it. But what we're going to see is, this next bit is the fourth industrial revolution. It's a hugely important thing that's happening. It's intersection of technologies, loads of different things, augmented reality, mobile stuff, data, all things that young people are living through right now has never happened before. This is the fourth industrial revolution. This changes the way we work. This changes it fundamentally. One of the things that's growing this whole thing is big data. I keep this slide forever because it's always said every year, and it can't be true every year, but 90% of the world's data was created in the last 2 years. Yeah, we have a huge amount of data growth, and this has fed AI companies. I'm going to talk about AI for this last little bit. So AI is huge now, tremendously powerful. In law, we had about 200 or so AI companies 5 years ago. Now it's about 2,500. The growth is exponential. You might be sitting there thinking, AI won't affect me. Believe you me, it will. It will affect everybody here. Your job will either be augmented by AI or it will be replaced with AI, which is good news for some, because if you're doing a job that maybe you don't love, maybe that's part of the reason. Maybe it can be done by computers. Believe you me, not every job can, of course. Not every job can be done remotely or hybridly. Of course it can't. But it's amazing what's going to happen in the next 5 years. Okay? If you're wondering, AI stuff, it's in the future, Dan, believe you me, it's not. Right? So I sat down there as a marketing person as well, and literally a couple of days ago, and I saw my job disappear in front of my very eyes. I used something called Content AI and Copy AI, and literally it wrote a blog, the computer wrote a blog in about 3 minutes with 7 clicks. Okay? Now this is something that normally would take me an hour or so, and the computer did it for me. It's astounding what we can now do. So AI now can predict cardiac arrest better than a doctor. There's lots of different things happening. Even right now, a couple of days ago, Intel have brought out this brilliant system, and it depends whether you love it or not, you don't have to, which actually reads the facial emotion of people when they're on a Zoom call. Yeah, and then that starts to feed back to the teacher. It's going to be a fascinating world if that happens. Certainly for my daughter, she's going to be gutted, but there you go. She's very clever. She just puts a freeze frame up there and then just goes, make herself a cup of tea. No, sorry, she didn't do that. Anyway, right, there's another thing you should love, and this is this GPT-3. Who here has heard of GPT-3? Brilliant, that's why I'm here. No one, brilliant. Okay, that's good. So it's a really clever bit of AI, open source AI, and it can do artwork, amongst loads of different stuff. It can also do artwork. And it used to be not very good, but now it's got very good. It's got to the point where you can do these kind of artworks. This is actually a thing called, I think it's called Dream, it's called Rumble. You can literally download it, use it today. Don't do it in the next speaker's talk, but do it at the break. Yeah, you can download it, and all you needed to do to become an artist was to type into the AI system, red, woman, rose, sun, lips, love, becoming. You can see where my life's going at the moment. And it creates these things, these kind of things. These are now available as an NFT, which I'm selling for £999. I'm not. It's a lie. I made that up. But they're pretty cool, aren't they? Pretty good. Yeah, and it literally took 2 minutes. Yeah, so if AI can start doing creative stuff, it can start doing everything. And that's what I love, because that's the whole point of technology. Technology is meant to spur on the next bit of social change. It's meant to do this. It's exactly what the printing press did. The printing press was created. Then we had things like the Reformation. The Reformation technically helped to make capitalism, and that's a different talk entirely. But it's very, very true. So you can Google it, you find out. And also things like 3D printing. So just imagine now if you can start 3D printing body parts, which you can start doing. Imagine the fact that people can live for longer. This completely changes how people look at work and everything and society. Even things like robotics happening over in China. You know, the future is everywhere, just unevenly distributed. And things like people like in Hawaii, they're doing ports and things, and they're getting rid of 70% of the workers because they can do, because they're dangerous, dirty jobs, which now robots can do. And that's what I love. In my life, I didn't think we were going to have this moment, which would become this thing, but it has done. The global pandemic has created this huge opportunity for us to change the way that we work and make society better. And it has done so because high performers with radical flexibility, you're going to get people who are better and better at their jobs, which is great news for bosses. Now, this was not the first time this has been talked about. It was done actually in 1994. A gentleman called William Bridges came up with the idea of the end of the job. But like all good futurists, he was good 30 years too early. But you could really great book that's only just come out, which is called Work Without Jobs. And that's about deconstructing things, deconstructing jobs and roles and changing the way we do stuff. But will this get rid of human beings and leaders? Well, the answer is no, because it will actually enhance the impact of leaders and humanity. It's going to make us more important than ever. The computers are not going to get rid of our jobs. They're going to make us more important. And someone who shared this stage literally about 4 or 5 years ago, who's a chap called Alex, who's CEO of Beam, which is a great company. Please go find out about that. They're a great company. He said this: the difference between good and great is love. And that's what I believe. Why do I care? Well, I care because I've got a daughter who I love intensely, and if you don't pass your values on to your kids, then somebody else will. So I'm hoping she's going to watch this talk. I'm hoping she's going to think, Dad, that's a hell of a shirt. I'm hoping she's going to listen to some of it and understand I want to be the change I want to see in the world. We together can create a new version of capitalism, a new version of working. The great news is, though, if you have a highly engaged workforce, you're more profitable. So it's in the interests of people to do this, okay? With a bad company culture, the difference between a bad company culture and a great one, the revenue is times by 4. This is how we're going to change the world. Because in the end, success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you're doing, you will be successful. I did not say that. You can say you said that, but I said it 7 years ago. Now my one is this instead, which is the future of work is not what you think. It is not what you feel. It is what you love. That's what's going to give us our superpower. That's what's going to make the difference to the next part of the world. That's what I want you to take home. Get a job that you love. Get work that you love, because honestly, the other stuff is going to be replaced anyway. So do what you love. Can anyone guess what this is? Ladies and gentlemen, it is love. Well done. And my name's Dan Sodergren. That was my talk. Thank you.